And of course they did. What wouldn't they? All right. The FAA temporarily bans drones in parts of New Jersey. Notice threatens deadly force for imminent security threat. Again, some think that was a little too extreme, but this is what is happening right now. There's more craziness around the drone situation, and I know that some of you have made it pretty clear, and a couple long emails recently saying, "Oh, it's just a big distraction, and you know, it's old now." That is not the opinion of the mainstream media. They are continuing to push this. Normally an op like this goes for 2 or 3 days and then you just never get an update ever again. This thing has been pushed for a very long time, and now they're implementing things. So again, was this whole thing so they could end up bringing in the safety, right? The protection to protect us. So at the same time as taking away some sort of freedom. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a ban on drone operations in several areas of New Jersey until January 17th, unless operators are granted special permission from the government due to special security reasons. So forget if you are a civilian trying to go up there and get your own citizen journalism on this thing, you're not going to be able to. Which is kind of ironic. Already people are having problems getting their drones up in the air. But again, what I have also heard that people in New Jersey have been able to get some of their drones up. So why don't we have a crystal clear picture of what these frickin' drones look like? That's the part that really bothers me. They must be employing some sort of drone killing technology for this not to have somebody get up there with a consumer drone and get a crystal clear picture of these things. If by what they're saying, it's not any higher than any of the commercial drones can go. A DJI can go as high as you want it. I mean, they say 400 feet, but again, many people, including myself, have gone way, way higher than that. So what is stopping them from getting up close to these things? Well, a lot of videos have come out saying that they couldn't basically get their drone even to fly. That tells me maybe something federally is there, something is blocking, some signal jamming thing. I don't know. Again, you only have to block a couple of things to actually stop a drone from taking off, or at least a commercial DJI one or something that somebody would have got at Best Buy. But the uncrewed aerial drones have been lighting up the sky at night in New Jersey and nearby states for weeks since about mid-November, leading to concern from residents and speculation online. I mean, more than speculation. This has just been an absolute circus. So, again, we're going to talk about this and some of the real backpage stuff that is going on while this is happening. Of course, there's the bill. We'll briefly touch on that. And we do have an update. It was failed. So that bill that even got cut down from 1,500 pages down to 25 pages, whatever it was, even that did not get through. Money for the farmers and money for the hurricane victims. Yep, just nothing there. So, and the government will shut down if something doesn't change in the next 24 hours. We'll talk about all of this in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, so I have a very specific warning, and this is my ulterior. I don't know if that's the right word or the right use of this. This is my alternative look at this and why people should be concerned about the drone ban and not letting consumer drones get up there. Is there a reason they do not want regular mom and pop, drones to be up there? Is there something that they don't accidentally want on camera? So say if a DJI drone, which has 4K cameras, very high quality stuff, even the new ones can see at night. I mean, they really are high quality. They're extremely good. Some of them 8K, in fact. Highly doubt that would work at night, though. They don't want 4K cameras catching something up there. Now, there's been a theory about something like this happening where a drone, which ends up being painted as another country. And this sounds crazy because normally we're thinking of a naval ship or a plane or something like that. Now in 2024, if there was going to be a Fantastic Freddy, it could be a drone thing. What's a bob? They have some event happened and they say that the perpetrator is an Iranian drone. Just an example, or a Chinese drone. It is perpetrated by this drone. The drone has China's new stealth technology that allowed it to get past radar. It crashes. They say, we have evidence. We've got pictures. They show us on the news pictures of this crashed drone with the stealth paint on it, whatever else. And it does some horrible thing. It drops a beaker on the ground. It busts open and people get, horribly ill or something, right? Or it does an EMP and knocks out all of New Jersey. Nobody will have that on video now. Just this totally side alternative, totally speculation, but I just, could totally see something like that happening. And again, now they're taking away the angle. Here's the other reason I think that so many sightings are popping up. Not because I think that there's drones all over the country. I think it is literally, if you look down any street in any downtown of any major city, what will you see? You will see this. Look at pictures of 1989 New York, and you'll see the difference between today. 1989 New York, people are like this, walking down the street with their briefcase. People in 2024, everybody has been like this for years. And when there is something in the sky, and even sky watchers really don't look up as much as, if you look up, you will see strange things. If you are like me, I know a lot of you are, then you see strange things all the time because you have paid attention to the sky and you have looked up your entire life. But not many people are like us. I have looked up because I'm always seeing stuff. And if there is any visibility in the sky, I get out of my car. I literally get out of my car. First thing I do is I look at the sky. I look at the sky walking all the way to my door to get to my house. If you're like me, comment down below. But there's a lot of people that are looking down, and they're not even looking at the ground. In fact, they're not finding the $100 bill somebody else is. They're looking at their phones. And now I think that there's something in the news that gets everybody hyped up about this stuff. Everybody is looking up. And maybe they want that to happen. Maybe they want some event to happen in the sky that they want everyone looking up for. Funny enough, maybe that Don't Look Up movie was literally a hint or a warning. They're saying, hey, don't look up. Don't believe it. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So, yeah, temporary ban on these. There's so much more going on, and most people believe that this is some sort of distraction. But I will say, keep your heads up, because if something does happen, there is a perfect setup for some massive event to happen, and it's already in the back of our heads where it's going to be pointed. Dex, let's talk about Putin. Says Russia is ready for a missile duel with the U.S.
This is funny. So Putin said on Thursday he suggested a missile duel with the U.S. that would show how Russia's new hypersonic ballistic missile could defeat any U.S. missile defense system. Addressing Western skepticism about that, he suggested we're ready for such an experiment. He suggested that both sides select a designated target to be protected by U.S. missiles, and then he would fire upon it and show that he could get through our missile defense system. So kind of a crazy threat, or a crazy offering there, to say, I will test our missiles against your missile defense system. I'm sure we would probably like to be able to test against his missile systems with our defense systems, but at the same time, I don't know if we want the public humiliation if we lose. So,
you know what? Something like this, why isn't the public just going viral right now? People should be like, yeah, do it. Let's do it. Have the U.S. show their might. See, I almost think, do you think that if T-Man was already in office, do you think he might bite? Like, he might go, yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go off and let's meet on Guam. We'll shoot two downed carriers or fake carriers. Let's both attack it and see if we can defend against it with the Iron Dome or something. I don't know. I think that would actually be kind of fun. But it is close to the end of the world, so these are the kinds of games we've got to play now. Hopefully it will all be like the Fallout show, and there will be lots of interesting things to see when it's all done, said and done. But again, do you think we should test, basically go one-on-one with a missile duel? Whose saber is bigger?
Exactly. Well, on some regards, though, we've given all of our or not all of them, but a lot of our Patriot systems are sitting over in Ukraine, right? And Dnipro, which was the first location attacked with this new missile, obviously it got right through. So that's sort of the question is, okay, well, did we fail, or did they just have them turned off? Were they not using them? Did they try? We don't know. We haven't really heard any of that other than Russia tout, yeah, look, we put our hypersonic right through there and showed you what we can do.
By the way, MeatPuppet007, thank you for being a member for 17 months. That's absolutely huge. I appreciate that. Freddy Williams, Southern PA Carling. Dex, I missed that last part that you said. I just stepped back. What was that?
No, I was just saying that we've already had the opportunity to defend against this in Dnipro, where back on November 21st, when he fired this missile the first time. I mean, technically, we have had all of our Patriot missile systems and other missile defense systems are sitting in Ukraine. So either they didn't work, or somebody had them turned off, or something else. But nobody's really talking about that part of it, except for Russia saying, look, we made it right through your defense system with this missile and hit the target, even though we didn't put big warheads on it.
Now, in chat, this is a simple 1 or 2 answer. We'll have it up here right next to me. Do you believe that Russia is gaining an advantage in certain areas in missiles? They are claiming in many areas that their missiles are faster, that they're unstoppable. Press 1 if you believe that is true. Press 2 if you believe it is false. And press 3 if you think it may be. I'd love to see what people are thinking. I know that a lot of folks right now are very confused on just almost everything, because really we've been lied to left and right, literally on both sides of the aisle for now years. And most people just really don't know what to believe. A lot of ones, actually. 3 and maybes. That's not a good thing. Don't you guys agree? That's not a good thing that we are kind of believing that. Something like an experiment like this, it would be kind of cool if we had war games, but like an Olympics of war games. And if we were truly 30 years more advanced than everybody else, let's smash them. Maybe in the future that could be what it happens. You do these war games and the enemy knows, oh, I don't want to mess with them. Their missiles, their things are going to basically kill ours. It's just not going to work. They have to base it off intelligence looking in. That's a lot of ones. Dex, did you see how many ones were in that answer? That means they believe it's true. So that's pretty sad.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So again, that's not a good thing for the United States. And it feels like the United States has been almost sabotaged from inside in a lot of ways. And then China threatens to paralyze U.S. aircraft carriers by attacking its radars and sensors, hit them with carrier killer missiles. Did I not tell you guys about this way long ago? And now they just keep getting a clearer message out. Look at this. Dex, have we not been talking about this since the inception of their system that would knock out our radars for our Navy systems? And it's like nobody talked about this, and I guarantee you this is going to become a bigger issue. This is going to be front page news. And once MSM does start talking about this a lot, then our same community will go, oh, it's a bunch of BS. MSM is talking about it. But remember, there's real news that coincides with fake news. And it's a great point to get out there. There's real news and distractions right beside it. This is something I've pointed out for a long time.
Yeah, we have. We've talked specifically about the electronic warfare component on this, but the interesting thing, the one thing that we need to know about coming out of this, because it's kind of the same thing we've talked about, and we can go through it, but they have increased their arsenal of anti-ship missiles, also known as carrier killers, and it has grown dramatically. So China has just built up this massive amount of those, and there's a reason for it. And obviously that reason is not to take Taiwan, which is an island. It is to defend against our carrier groups that are going to come in, or even offend against them, that are going to come in to try to help Taiwan. It knows that's what's going to happen. So the best way, the only thing it can do is to try to eliminate, because a carrier group can make a significant, can cause significant harm to China in trying to defend Taiwan. So if they can eliminate a carrier group or two, that will be a huge, success for them in the battle for Taiwan.
It won't quite be an equalizer, but you could almost say if they truly have the systems that they say they have, and just a reminder, they say they have a low Earth orbit satellite system that can knock out our early warning systems on our entire Navy. They are also claiming that they can find all of our submarines using another satellite system that has microwave technology that can look down and see this thing. I don't know if did that other system say it was even satellite. They might even be able to do that from those balloons. So they could send 1,000 balloons spread out over the ocean and find our submarines. They don't even have to go the whole world over. They could just go over the South China Sea and look in the South China Sea. A lot of people don't want to believe that. I saw comments just the other day. I mean, I talked about this, how people said, oh, well, if it's China, we don't have anything to worry about. Or somebody says, if you think China's a threat, LOL. I think there's been a lot of false stuff put out, and the reason why is because China is paying and putting money directly into media's pocket. Look at what the movie scene looks like right now. After the strike and everything else, think about this. Our mainstream Hollywood, which has been the best movies in the world, come from the United States. If you're anywhere else in the world, they basically just get dubbed versions of our movies. There are some countries that have been doing better movies, and this is really important. Entertainment and this kind of thing, Hollywood is the reason, another chunk of reason why we are so looked up to. We have the glitz, we have the glam. We're, one of the richest countries in the world. Where freedom is, and people look up to the United States. That's the reason why so many people want to come here. The Hollywood has completely changed. If you look at a lot of these big movies, the last one I saw, and it's so obvious the people that are in them, like John Cena is in a lot of the movies by these Chinese companies. Jackie Chan, most definitely now. Jackie Chan and John Cena movie is a perfect example of a big budget Hollywood film that's totally done by just China. Even big films like Top Gun had like $1 billion investor in it, and they dropped out because they didn't take the Taiwan patch off. Spider-Man No Way Home. Sorry, let me fix this real quick. Spider-Man No Way Home. That was another one where they had millions and millions of dollars invested. They wanted them to remove or edit out the the Statue of Liberty. So there's lots of things like that. Another actor that's in a lot of these Chinese films, Tom Hanks did this. Funny enough, the Greyhound movie. Have you guys seen this? Have you seen the movie called The Greyhound? It's about the Greyhound escort of Tom Hanks I think he directed and wrote the film or something. I thought it was an awkward movie. There was no background on any of the people. I thought it was a horrible movie. It had good graphics, and they showed a lot of, cool explosions and stuff. But I thought it was worse than, a J.J. Abrams or whoever that guy does the explosions. It was a horrible film. There was no background on anybody. It wasn't even like artistic or artsy-fartsy. I just thought it was a bad movie. And that movie it was like you see the credits and it's almost all of these Chinese companies. My point to this is when you have China so embedded into our media, first of all, why doesn't anybody talk negatively about China? And then the negative stuff that is said about China, it almost seems purposeful. It's making them look weak, so nobody is looking in that direction. Everybody's talking about Iran, about Russia, about Cuba, about these guys, about North Korea. There's a tiny percentage that are talking about China. There's, of course, Taiwan and China, but nobody's talking about China and the U.S. That's something that really is ignored. It's like you can see that they are altering what is actually being said about them. They have so much money invested in everything here. It's really insane to actually see how much stuff is there. So yeah, as far as attacking the radars and sensors, this is a giant deal. If they really have that technology, then we are in a lot, and I mean a lot of trouble. Now, before we move on, I want to make sure go check out Jace if you haven't already. This is a great kit to have. It's an emergency kit that has all of your most commonly prescribed antibiotics in it. As far as the Jace kit goes, or the Jace case, you can actually add things on like albuterol and fluconazole and other things in there, including the stuff that Joe Rogan took and CNN almost got sued for making fun of him taking. So again, there's lots of great things on that list that you can actually add, and that way you have a solid little kit that in case somebody gets a cut, somebody runs into something, has some sort of issue, a tiny cut doesn't turn into a funeral. It's taken care of. Because again, we think of these things as just, oh, it's a tiny cut or it's this, but that's because we have our system that we have right now. We have hospitals, we have pharmacies. Well, there is a ton of different potential events that could happen where you don't have a hospital, you don't have a pharmacy. So that's where this comes into place. You should be self-reliant on that at least, especially with antibiotics, considering the country I was just talking about makes 97% of all of the active pharmaceutical ingredients inside of them, and about 90% of all antibiotics in the world are made in China. Some say it's upwards of 93 to 95%. Why we are so dependent on them, it is absolutely insane. Marfooglenews.com/Jace. You are helping us out, and of course you are getting yourself prepared. You're getting something out of it, and you're getting a discount. All right, and then Dex, if you can, U.S. is investigating potential national security risks posed by internet routers used by millions. And if you could go a little bit deeper in this, I need to switch out batteries.
Yeah, so this is kind of crazy, folks. Check your home because you might actually have one of these. So U.S. officials are investigating a potential national security risks tied to a telecom company funded in China whose internet routers are used by millions. Multiple sources familiar with the matter discussed. So U.S. officials are concerned that the cheap, ubiquitous routers made by TP Link, if you've ever seen that brand, it's a cheap brand. You get it on Amazon. TP Link could offer a foothold for China-backed hackers into U.S. infrastructure. The Commerce Department has opened a probe into the company that is in its nascent stages. One possible outcome of the probe is a ban on the sale of TP-Link routers in the U.S., two of the sources said. So what they're basically saying here, folks, and I'll try not to go too geeky here, is that these routers, these particular ones, may actually have backdoors in them for the hackers that are coming in from China, or it may be that maybe they weren't designed for them, but at least those hackers have that knowledge of them and their way to exploit them, and these have been used. Mind you, pretty much every router sitting in your homes right now came from China. The real question is who did the software on the router. If the router itself didn't come completely from China, about 80 to 90% of the parts in it did. So you can't avoid you can't avoid it, but what you can do is look for companies that are owned by U.S. companies, or at least maybe even Taiwan or other locations, or even South Korea or others, where they make these electronics that are at least not made solely and owned by a company that is tied directly to the CCNP. So keep that in mind. This is a warning that's come out that is being rumored right now, leaking out, that they may actually ban these in the U.S. So TP-Link, very popular. You can buy them on Amazon. They're super cheap. A lot of people have them. I reckon to think there's probably people in our audience right now. You probably got one sitting in your house. So keep that in mind.
You're watching us on it.
That back door, that back door is potentially wide open to these Chinese hackers. That's what the government is leaking out right now and investigating.
Also keep in mind this story is from CNN. I want to point out that almost everything that comes out of CNN and certain other networks, it's almost always some sort of sensational thing or something that's a pretty big thing. They got an exclusive. So is there an angle to it? What my point is yeah, there's either a problem with this, or they want to make sure that you believe there is a problem with this. They keep talking about these national security risks with China. To me, I believe that they will be at war with China in a matter of time, and that this is going to be something that really does pop up. And I think a lot of people are going to be caught off guard. Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say, Wall Street Journal first reported that the Commerce Department was investigating TP-Link. So it's out and about with a few other players, not an exclusive on CNN's part. But the other thing to keep in mind, though, is they're trying to say that TP-Link is a U.S. company, but it's not, or at least it's a subsidiary of a Chinese telecom, is how they're describing it, even though they're trying to make it look like they're headquartered in California. So again, all of this is not our words, not speaking disparagingly towards that company. It's coming from what is being leaked out from the investigation and what's in these articles. So
what was the other media you said? You said CNN and something else?
Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is the one credited with first breaking the story.
Well, so in this, they ended up expanding on this. They said multiple sources familiar with the matter told CNN. So the thing I want to point out about CNN is CNN always gets these exclusives, like the interview with the guy that just took over Syria, right? Somehow in 11 days he was able to take out Syria altogether. But don't think about the thousands of strikes by not only the U.S. but Israel at all of these military targets. So yeah, this group of 5,000 to 10,000 in HTS also, negotiated and somehow got all of these different groups, which we never hear about any of the other actual fighting forces that were included in that. Maybe one or two were mentioned, but really nobody talks about all of these other groups. They must have had a huge fighting force to do that. And by fighting force, I mean probably paid operators or groups that were paid huge chunks of millions of dollars right after it just so happens millions of dollars left the U.S. towards UKR. But who knows? TP-Link, Dex, doesn't the TP-Link like toilet paper link? TP-Link. Doesn't this look like it's a straight ripoff of one of the bigger brands? Even their box and their coloring looks like a knockoff.
Oh yeah, they look very manila, like a lot of the others that are out there. But I'm not going to brag on other companies, but there are companies that, while their products may be made in China, their software is designed in the U.S. and it's a U.S. owned company. It's not beholden to CCP, but apparently this company, that's not the case.
Well, I bet it is fast. They need fast internet because they're going to take a little bit off the top of each gigabit you send. So it's got to go back to daddy. All right. And then U.S. government tells officials, politicians ditch regular calls and texts. Again, in the back of our head, they keep putting just all of these different signs and different things. All of the companies, too. DJI, Huawei, a million other smaller electronic companies that have been on this watch list of potentials. TikTok, all of these statements saying China's a risk, security cameras, now routers. Think about that. Now they have security cameras from China, routers from China, drones from China, pretty much anything that is camera or internet related. So yeah. And now they're saying ditch regular calls and texts. Oh, and they told us between Android and Apple, don't send texts, and Apple to Apple's fine, Android to Android's fine, it's encrypted, but if you send it to the other, then China is going to get you. Thank you, LAPD SWAT. We're getting multiple drone sightings here in Fort Worth. Started just in last 25 hours. Some seen over Carswell base last night. So I just want to point out we're getting reports of this too here in Washington and Tacoma. But I just want to point out, I think that people are looking up. Millions of people have drones, like regular consumer drones. So you might just be seeing a DJI. But we don't, when we hear that there's just reports, that means any, a grandma or grandpa's walking out there and going, oh, there's a drone. And yeah, they will be able to tell a difference. They'll be like, hey, that's not a plane. And it probably is a drone. But is it a drone like, oh, a scary drone? Or is somebody putting up a DJI up there to look for other drones? That's the other thing is everybody that watches my show that is a drone operator, a lot of them have been commenting saying they're putting their drone up every night. So all these drone operators, because of this story, are up there trying to get a clip of other drones. And what they're getting clips of is other drones looking for other drones. So I don't know. And you very well, LAPD SWAT, you guys could have Chinese tech or the U.S., Thanksgiving taking off drones up above you as well. They could be planning something massive. I don't know. All over the country they have, but again, every single day in the news, it has been saying, oh, there's stuff in the sky. So now every single person is looking up in the sky, which there's always stuff in our sky. I would not be surprised. Dex, do you not think that there's going to be a direct correlation with the National UFO Reporting Center? I believe that this month will have the most insane numbers they have ever had, or at least in the last few years, because now over the last 2 weeks, everyone has been looking up. What do you think about that?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think every community is starting to say, "Oh, I'm seeing stuff," and it's because they're looking up, and they're probably in my community. I said this last night. People were just saying, "We're seeing this," and it wasn't. It was planes, and it's funny because tonight the planes are running a different pattern, and nobody's saying anything because there's nothing in the sky above us because the planes are on the other side of the city. They either land to the east or they land to the west. And it just depends. And it's, but yes, point is spot on.
In Georgia, there's drones. In everywhere, there's drones, right? Or are they planes? If they look like you said last night, if they're, Dex was explaining, if you're looking straight at it, so like in Seattle, SeaTac, almost everywhere in Seattle, you're looking at where they're coming in from. So you can see lines of just these, it almost looks like a star because you're seeing the headlights of the plane and it's coming towards you. So it does not look like it's moving at all. So you're thinking, and it's too far away to see their blinking lights, and you're seeing the headlights, so you don't see that. So a lot of people have been reporting that too. I'm not surprised that everybody's looking towards Tacoma, towards SeaTac, or towards that area and going, oh my gosh, there's drones. But I could totally be have a foot in my mouth later because who knows? They could have drones all over the country. I have talked about a scenario where drones could end up, they could have people on the ground in the United States, which they do. We just saw through the last 4 years of the crisis happening down on the south border that all of a sudden it went from an insanely low number of Chinese immigrants coming in to all of a sudden the next month, or if you go from this year to this year, exactly 1 year, this same month in the year, it's like, 3,000, now 33,000, now 45,000, now 60,000. And a lot of these guys coming in are buzz cut, camo wearing 18 to 25-year-old men. Like, they're not families. They're coming in big groups. Even rumors of them when they get across, they're slicing a chicken open and drinking its, which is a ritual of the PLA on a battlefield, which That's freaky if that is true. Again, you can go look that up for yourself. Again, who knows what is actually happening? But I will say this: they would be able to build some stuff here and put it up in the sky. That's for sure.
Yeah, just getting the public to look up and getting the public in fear of something is they get a residual out of that. The residual is all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of false reporting. And that just adds to, and I'm saying the hype. Whoever's doing this, if they're doing it from a psychological point of view, all you got to do is sort of start the wave, and then the wave will trickle around the U.S. and everyone will be like, oh my gosh, look at what's going on. You know, it's almost
because people are looking up.
It's kind of like the shark attack thing, right? Like once there's a shark attack, then there's one everywhere. Well, there's always shark attacks, but if nobody reports about it, you don't hear about it. But as soon as you report about it, everybody's talking about it. Nobody wants to go to the beach, right? It's that exact same thing.
And once the hype, everybody's talking about it at their water coolers, and everybody's going, and then it passes it on, and then somebody that wasn't even paying attention to it all of a sudden is getting home, looking up and going, oh my gosh, looking at a satellite and going, there's a drone. So yeah, going back to the main story here, again, they said that they're telling you to ditch. Urging senior government officials to politicians to ditch phone calls and text messages following intrusions at major American telecommunication companies blamed on Chinese hackers. So I wanted to comment on this, and I know you just went over this, but so I want to point out they keep telling us that there's problems with the communications, comms. We keep hearing about comms. You need to have a basic system, and this is a side note from a prepper standpoint. I will tell you, mine is super advanced, and I would love if I could get, ham going. There's downsides to it as well, especially being a creator. But I will tell you this, walkie-talkies for your family, if you have some for your family, I would highly recommend it, especially if you have family members close by. Get yourself some walkie-talkies, get yourself some radios. Because they might come in extremely clutch. Have a plan for if something goes down, what channel you'll be on and how to communicate, or how often you're going to hop on and say hello. And if you want to go a step further, you can create a kind of a code word to make sure that on the other end it's the person you're talking to. Obviously, most people know their family. But you could also create these things with neighbors and have radios between neighbors if you have a neighborhood protection plan. Then get yourself that kind of stuff now, because you're not going to be able to get it later. And I highly recommend looking at some of the, and most of the walkie-talkies and the radios are made in China too, but you do have some American companies that make them, and all of the other stuff is produced here. So there's no programming done in China. So highly recommend going and looking at that. It's just a basic thing that I think everybody should have. At least for their family, especially in a time of craziness. And it could come in clutch for a hurricane, a storm, a fire. I mean, if you really think about it, anytime when the phone lines are going to go down. The first thing you do when you try to take out anything is you take out power and you take out comms. These are the two things they've said that China is engaged in. In our infrastructure, they are hidden inside of our power grid and in our communications grid. So there's been a lot of chatter about this, but yet why is nobody talking about this? Everybody's talking about, drones and UFOs. And then Ukraine unveils laser weapon based on UK prototypes. So funnily enough, the first unveiling is happening in Ukraine, one of the biggest testing grounds out there. Ukraine is a very positive thing for the military-industrial complex, because right now they get to test a whole lot of goodies. Dex, do you want to talk about the laser that was just unveiled? Dragonfire.
So apparently, Ukraine has developed a cutting-edge laser weapon that is ready to shoot down Russian jets. A military commander has revealed the weapon known as a Trizub, or a Trident, and it's thought to have been modeled on a UK prototype after designs were shared with Kiev earlier this year. The colonel said the commander of the Ukraine's unnamed system forces unmanned, sorry, system forces, said the advanced laser system is capable of downing an aircraft at a distance of more than 2 kilometers. It's not that far, but it's, I guess, decent distance. It's got to see line of sight, right? He said it really works. It really exists, he said at a defense industry conference. The commander also noted that Ukraine was only the 5th country to possess a high-powered laser weapon, which uses an intense light beam to cut through its target. So Trident, which is also a symbol featured in Ukraine's coat of arms, was already ready to shoot down the first Russian jet. So they're waiting. I guess they're ready to do that.
Now, I know that these things take an extreme amount of power, but I heard people commenting how this will be so much better for the environment because there's no shells, there's no bullets getting thrown out there. But keep in mind, I think these things use like in the kilowatts or something. Like these are absurdly powered. I'm sure as technology goes, they'll take less and less power, but laser systems right now, they're a huge draw. So one thing I could see, if you were going to take out a country that is now developing a bunch of laser systems, is you would focus on power. That's another thing. The U.S. is really the backer and the main reason all of this is happening. I told you guys 10 years ago or 8 years ago about the laser systems that my sister's ex-boyfriend was working on with Boeing even. So, I mean, if you look at what they've been building for a very long time, these lasers are going to become commonplace on the battlefield. It's going to be lasers, drones, and robots very, very soon. It's already here, but you'll see that that's going to be a majority of the defense systems that are coming out in the near future. As the technology gets better, they will take less and less power, but as of right now, it's not the most practical thing in the world. But it is pretty crazy. It's straight out of Star Wars. You're going to see lasers taking out planes. It's cool,
and I just looked
cool
it
in a
up,
way,
Adam.
too.
Yeah, the Dragonfire, which is the UK model that apparently they were given intel on, is a 50 kilowatt. 50 kW.
Do you know how many people's houses that would power? Isn't that just a ginormous amount? Or maybe I'm thinking of megawatts. Megawatts is where you powering a small city, right? What is a 50 kilowatts? Yeah. How wait, is that a lot or is that okay, so 50, did you say 50 or 500?
50. It says 50 kW class.
Wait.
The laser is reported in the 50 kilowatt class.
I'm trying to 1,050, so 550. So is that 5,000? Is that 5,000 watts? Wait, that can't be right. Or is that 50,000 watts?
Yeah, 50,000 watts.
50,000 watts. So that's like 50,100 watt old school bulbs, right? That's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. Maybe the technology is getting there. 50,000 watts. That's like powering 5,000 space heaters. I don't know. I guess I wonder what a normal household. What does the average household use in power a month across the United States? I wonder if it's less than that. Like, think about that. A house uses that much power in a whole month or something. They use it in one shot, right? One shot, they're using that much power. And then the power to be created is some sort of resource happening, right? Unless they're going to power them with solar. You know how long that would take to charge by solar? I mean, how big of a panel or how efficient of a panel? I mean, most of the bigger panels are 100 watt an hour. God, that would never be efficient. Think about that. They're trying to go green. If it stayed at 50,000 or even half of that, it would be so inefficient for the earth because there's no way to do that solar. There's no way to do that wind. I don't even think a hydro dam, that would be an efficient thing. But yeah, Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, they claimed that the UK, when they're testing, claimed that it only cost about 10 pounds. So let's just call it $10, $10 a shot for 10 seconds. So, it's kilowatt, as in that's the power of the laser, but I think it's the duration of time when you get into how much actual power consumption. But again, they're saying it's relatively cheap. It's an inexpensive laser system. So $10 a shot.
I think they're full of it. When they say 10 pounds, 10 pounds of US dollars. So yeah, whatever 10 pounds of actual $100 bills weighs, right? Maybe they're just leaving that part out. Maybe the actual laser is 50,000 kilowatts an hour, but the shot is much less than that. I don't know. It seems to me like, but maybe the technology's there. That's another thing. I'm sure very soon it will be, if it's not already. And then Israel launches airstrikes against Houthis in Yemen as Netanyahu issues a warning. And it's another thing, too. The Middle East, it's like everybody since the drone thing has happened. Have you noticed how they've transitioned away from the Middle East conflict? I mean, Israel invaded and went inside Lebanon and posted flags, for gosh sakes. You have an entire country, Syria, got taken over and the regime changed. And people are still talking about drones. Of course, Israel launched airstrikes against Houthis in Yemen. So they're striking Yemen as well. And the announcement about the strikes, which took the lives of 9, according to Al Masirah, a TV channel affiliated with the Houthis, came hours after Israel's military said it had intercepted a missile launched from Yemen. Israel warplanes struck targets belonging to the Houthis on the western coast and the inland Yemen. The military said in a statement those included ports and energy infrastructure. And he said that the military struck Houthi targets in Yemen Thursday in response to the militia's attacks. What was there was a thing here later. Here, hold on. Israel has since October 2023, waged war against Hamas and Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, both armed groups backed by Iran. Israel has conducted a devastating military campaign in Gaza to crush Hamas, which attacked Israel on October 7th of last year. It has also invaded Lebanon in October to prevent the militia group Hezbollah from staging cross-border acts after decimating much of the Lebanese militant group's leadership. Israel in late November agreed to a ceasefire. Mr. Netanyahu alluded to the significant regional shifts in a bullish statement and said, quote, after Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Assad regime in Syria, the Houthis are almost the last arm of Iran's axis of evil. He said they are finding out and will find out the hard way that whoever harms Israel will pay a very heavy price. So everything, including Syria, which he is alluding to as well, is basically related back to Israel, not this small group led by a revolutionary, which people are going to forget about the revolutionary guy. He was put into place, which I'm sure we'll see in a few years. They'll declassify all of this stuff and it will be a regime change with the help of the U.S. and Israel. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you, Wages World. Just hit 19 months. Thank you for not only being one of our most awesome mods. Says, love the Foogle fam. Won't be chatting much. Wages, no worries. I know you're busy too. It's hard for me to pop over to other channels and chat. But when I do, it is fun. Thank you, Wages, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you. I talked about you yesterday. I don't know if you were in yesterday's show. And then let's see here. Yeah, what do you guys think happened there? And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you want to protect your family, if you want to be able to get home to them, or if you want to take them out of the city when something goes down. I would definitely recommend getting yourself an EMP Shield. Put this in your car. It takes less than 10 minutes, and you're going to be protected against EMP, electromagnetic pulse attacks from any adversary. That includes non-nuclear EMPs, a backpack device that somebody that crosses over and can get parts off the internet and makes and can knock out a 5-mile city radius. Again, it will also protect you against those as well. Not only that, it can protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. If speaking of which, wages, if you want to follow all of the solar events have been going nuts for the last year. We are in solar maximum of solar cycle 25, so it is one of the best times. Hopefully Deagel will not be right, because honestly, the Deagel report he was like the Einstein of statistics, predicted that by 2025, the U.S. and almost all of our allies would lose huge, massive chunks of our populations. Oddly enough, 2025 is lining up to be one of the craziest war years in our history as a planet, not even as the U.S. So if you want to protect yourself, the first thing I believe that they will do is knock out our power and our communications. So set yourself up with a gas-powered generator that's protected, get your car protected, and then get your home and your devices protected. The home version will protect everything plugged in within 250 linear feet. That way, when all of this goes down, if you are planning on bugging in, you can stay home. Or if you're trying to get out, your car works and runs. Marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off on top of any sale they're running that's grandfathered in. If they're doing Black Fridays or if they're doing Valentine's Day or Veterans Day sales, it doesn't matter what it is. You will always get that $50 additional off per device, which stacks up quick if you're trying to outfit 3 cars or 2 cars and a house and a generator. It's a great discount. Marfooglenews.com/EMP and code MARF. That will help support independent news at the same time as getting yourself protected. All right, and then yesterday's bill versus today's bill, which we do have an update, and I've got a piece here. I think I loaded it here. So first of all, the bill we talked about yesterday, which I knew was full of just all this stuff that was so abrasive. They get people hyped up and emotional about this kind of stuff. They threw stuff in there about mandates for covering your face. They threw stuff in there about raises. One thing that was really quickly pointed out is that these people that are already stupid rich, wearing $12,000 dresses to Congress on a $174,000 a year salary, they wanted to put a 40% pay bump in there. Most of us think, like especially anybody in the union, you know, you're hoping for the 25-cent raise or a 50-cent raise is giant, you know. They're talking about a 40% overall salary bump. Yeah, that's going to piss people off, and people are going to notice that. Out of 1,500 pages, did they do that big so that it was hopefully going to pass? Did they think that even the Congress wasn't going to read them? I don't think so. I think it was full of BS. So it would get people emotional. Then they cut it down all the way down to almost nothing. And I'll show you that. It's like, compare this. This is House resolution yesterday. This is House resolution today. And it failed. It was, they voted no on it. And Dex, do you want to talk about that? And I'm going to pull up the reference for that, the article.
Yeah, basically everybody on one side voted no, and a decent small chunk of people on the other side voted no because they wanted their pork, or they wanted to feel powerful enough that to show that they could stop this. But this they had narrowed the bill down to let's give the funds that were already agreed upon on both sides in theory to the hurricane victims. Let's give the farm bill the money it needs for the farmers, and then let's extend the debt ceiling for only 2 years, not indefinitely, just 2 years. So it'll still have to be dealt with, but let's do that. Those 3 things so the government can stay running. That was it. It was so simple. Like, who couldn't agree upon that? But apparently a large enough number. Now, mind you, the side of the political spectrum that the Don is on is the majority right now in Congress. They could, if they would just get everybody on board, could get that passed, at least through Congress. Then it'll go to the Senate. But yeah, this is the list that's being shown on the screen right now of the right side that voted against it. So either this is going to expose. List. Yeah, it's going to expose some people. And I think a lot of these people are going to be, if their constituents are probably going to go, why on earth would you not pass something so simple as funding the hurricane victims and funding, the farmers and keeping the government lights on? That's all you were doing. It was so simple. It was the true to the nature of a continuing resolution, as opposed to that 1500 page, which is more like an omnibus bill, meaning we're throwing everything in there, because that's what they did. They threw everything in that.
And some credit it to Elon Musk posting it with 100 million followers and it going absolutely stupid viral on X. But also, some say that was the point of it, that they knew that was going to happen and that they went through, and now all of these people. So I'll just, I wish I had like a cha-ching sound, because I bet you Andy Ogles, cha-ching, Ralph Norman, cha-ching, etc., 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 cha-ching, David Schweikert, or Schweikert, cha-ching, Bretching, cha-ching, Kamek, cha-ching, Nancy Mace, cha-ching. I bet they all got something. If it wasn't money, they got something out of it. I'm telling you, there's so much back-end stuff going on. Guarantee you there was some reason like, hey, we'll take care of you later if you do this right now. Like, there's so many. And I recognize very few of these names, by the way. Isn't it crazy how many representatives there actually are? And a lot of them are names you probably never heard of. The ones you do hear about, those are the ones that are going for president in a few years. They're the ones that get up on the stage and grandstand and say, Facebook, are you kidding? You came to this meeting and knew you were going to be asked these questions and you didn't come with the answers? I think all of those guys are just as bad. They're used car salesmen with speaking abilities. How many of these people are actual representatives of their cities? How many people actually represent us? I can tell you this, it's not, what's her face? She's on the list. Or no, maybe she's not. The one that said, oh, well, I'm mad because I can't come to Congress and wear my $12,000 dress. I spent $12,000 on this dress and I can't wear it to work. I wore a used Toyota to work today and I can't wear it. Oh my gosh. I represent you, people. Help me out so I can wear my pretty dress. And I'm not picking on the ladies. The men, I guarantee you, they're wearing $10,000, $20,000 suits on $170,000 a year. That doesn't make sense, especially with the inflation and everything else. By the way, the bump raise, that actually makes sense. Like if they were actually making $240,000 a year, that would make sense, especially here in Washington, where what is it? Now they're going to bump it up to $110,000 a year for a family of four is extreme poverty. It was $70,000 a year is extreme poverty. And a couple years ago, that sounded crazy. Now it doesn't. So yeah, in places like that, I would see somebody who's a congressperson making $250,000 a year. In today's money, for such a respected position, if it was still respected, that is what I would expect somebody like that to make, or a judge or somebody that's up there. But that's not what they're making. They're making way more than that. Every one of these people has figured out, like, it must be the first day thing, like a checklist. Like, oh, do you have your Cayman accounts? Oh, you don't have a Swiss bank account? Oh, sir, I'll help you with that. I'm your assistant. I'm going to get you your Cayman and your Swiss bank accounts. That's for our bribes. This is our bribes department. Hi, Susie. Hi. Yes. No, I'm telling him about the bribes. Uh-huh. Yeah. No. He doesn't have Caymans. No. I think we're going Swiss on this one. That's their first day, by the way. All right. If you appreciated the show, make sure to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell to all, because if you don't, you won't get notifications. So make sure to check that out. Thank you, Wages, for hitting 19 months. Appreciate that. Thank you as well, LAPD SWAT. Thank you for the super chat tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you. I thought I saw somebody gift a badge, so thank you. Thank you to new members: Greg Sparks, Cyber Farm, Senko187, Gabby B, Storms, Radios, and Cats. Is that really? Storms, Radios, and Cats. I love it. Eleanor Nelson, Melanie White, thank you this month. Sue Ellen, Going for God Mobile, love the name. Jammer, Nacho Man, Randy Sandwich. I love it. Rejoin, thank you. Jen, Prep Mom 5, Krista McClemens, Tammy, Ray the Way. I barely see you anymore, but I love you. Hopefully you're doing well. Nicole Angel and Havas Mom, thank you. All right. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And again, make sure, if you haven't already, if you don't have any prep food in your pantry, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Right now is one of the best times ever, not only because of all of the crazy sales that are going on, but because it is obviously a very tumultuous time and a very unpredictable time. So if you want to get yourself some freeze-dried food, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get a 3-month supply. The majority, depending on when you watch this, you can get anywhere from $100 to $200 off, and even possibly higher. Just make sure to go check that link. All you need is the link. You don't need a code. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. That's my good night. Inquiring Minds, thank you for being the top supporter tonight with LAPD SWAT right behind. We're getting multiple drone sightings. Thank you, LAPD SWAT and Inquiring Mind. Doing great, guys. Thank you. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. You'll be ported over momentarily. If you are watching the replay, click here to watch the news short.